I'm going to be showing you how to hang plasterboard onto a stud wall. The tools we need: stud adhesive, a small stripper, a tape measure, pencil and nails, gloves, a hammer and a ladder that's high enough to reach the top of the stud wall safely. So the first thing I'm going to do is measure the stud wall and then transfer the measurements onto the plasterboard sheet. So then we transfer that measurement onto the sheet. Now I'm going to cut the sheet to size, and normally you can use a T-square to cut your sheet. I prefer the tape gauge, which is a lot quicker. What we do is we put the end of the tape measure onto the mark and then clasp the point of contact with the sheet with your forefinger and your thumb. Apply your utility knife to the sheet. You don't need too much pressure, just enough to cut the back of the sheet. And then I get my friend Bob to give me a hand with the sheet. So we pull the sheet away from the wall. So now I fold the sheet over, like so. Now I'm going to cut the sheet where the fold is, all the way down. Whenever we're hanging a sheet of plaster, we always need to put the bottom sheet onto blocks, so it's not sitting on the floor. That way there's no chance of the plaster cracking if there's movement in the floor. So plasterboard comes in either 1200 or 1350s. This particular one is a 1200. So what I'll be doing is cutting it in half so that I'll be able to trowel the top and bottom all at the same time off the ground. Now once again, we'll be using the tape gauge. We're going to lay the sheet down and then raise the other side and score it. Okay, ready, Bob? Okay. So the next step is to apply the stud adhesive. So this is your stud adhesive. Using a scraper, you place your glue, roughly 250 and 300 on each stud. You never glue your last stud and your internal stud, because wherever you're nailing, when the glue dries, it pulls the sheet back and your nail will protrude. Okay, so now we're ready to hang our sheet. Let's put it on the box there. Now I'm hanging a full sheet. Now I apply the stud adhesive to that area. Doing it to 400, 450, 800 and 850. Remembering not to put any dobs in your internal or your external. Okay, so now we're going to lift the sheet up on top of the 600 one that I've cut. So now I'm going to cut the excess plasterboard off. Scoring the back, snap it off and taking your knife and scoring it just gently all the way down to the back. So now we're ready to cut our top sheet. So what we'll do, we'll measure both sides and then transfer the measurements onto the plasterboard sheet. So now that the plasterboard's hung, it's ready to trowel. And don't forget, it's always good to have a friend to give you a hand, because the plasterboard is heavy and awkward. And that's it, job's done.